I'll teach you everything you need to know about user input service in 5 minutes. I'm going to show you how to make things happen when a key is pressed, and from there, I'm sure you have learned enough to do everything else, like when a button is clicked. I only have 5 minutes, okay? There is a service that handles user input. It's called user input service. Let's just name it, I don't know, UIS equals. The way you get services is by using game, get service, and then you type in the name of the service. And I just told you it's user input service. There are many events we could use for user input service, as you can see right here, that detect when user input has begun, such as like pressing down on a button, or when it's ended, just letting go of a button, stuff like that. But for this, we'll just use InputBegan, so when they press down on a button. Or they click down, it could be any sort of input. And then we do our generic event stuff. We'll do anonymous function. This does have arguments that we can use. First one is the input type, and that just lets us know what kind of input the user has began to use. It is an enum value, so hopefully you remember that from back in the day. It's pretty simple if you don't. So that input type argument just gives us more information on the type of input that has just started. We can check if the input type dot user input type is equal to keyboard input. And the way we do that is input type dot user input and check if it's equal to the enum of user input type keyboard. Then print keyboard is being pressed. Let's go ahead and test that out. You should always be testing your stuff to make sure it's working constantly, because you don't want to write like 200 lines of code and then have it not work. So I'm moving out around my mouse and it's not printing anything because that's not a keyboard, but as soon as I walk around or I'm typing, you see, it works. So a keyboard is being pressed. Now we want to check if the key being pressed is the key we want. I don't know, let's just pick Q. Q's right there, you know. And the way we check if it's Q is like this. If input type dot key code is equal to, again, it's an enum dot key code dot. Here you have a list of all the key codes. We just want Q. Then print Q was pressed. Let's see if this works. I'm walking around and it's not detecting it like it was before, but if I press Q, ooh, it works. Now we can use our remote event to make things happen in the server where every player can experience something, like maybe spawning in a part. Because if I just spawn in a part using a local script in here, then only this player is going to be able to see that part. But if I want every player to see that part, I got to do it through the remote event. So re.fire server. So this is going to send a message to the script. We can make the script detect when a server event has happened, do a regular event stuff, and let's instance parts, man. And let's just print the player's name so we can hold whoever set it accountable. Whoops, capital P. As you can see, I'm pressing Q and parts are being made. As you can see, this is very cool, but if we're typing Q, 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 it's still spawning. If we don't want that, we have a second argument that checks if the player is like doing something else like chatting or in the menu. So if they're like chatting, we can just call it chatting. It doesn't matter. And chatting is equal to false. So, and they're not chatting or in the menu or something like that, then fire it. Else, don't do anything. See, it works fine. And now if I'm typing Q, 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 it doesn't spawn in parts.